I put on a sweater, but it's
Yeah, we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the live stream tonight. We are talking about experience accesses understanding. Hi, Betty. How you doing tonight?
pretty well. Thank
Excellent.
you.
All right. And you have a sweater on.
Yep. It got cool. I put a sweater on. It kind of looks like too much, maybe, but
No,
I'm
you're
warm.
fine. You're fine. All right. So, as we look at this subject, let's see. Hang on a minute. You're on. All right.
The text is still What is the Idea by Margaret Laird.
Right. Right. Anyway, so how could you possibly know what is good, capital G, until you experience good as understanding and knowledge? No words can tell you what good is. The only thing that can tell you about good is good itself, as your conscious sense that only good is. You can know what capital good is only by the experience of the acknowledgement that only good is, that being is good being. The more effort you make to discover what good is, the more strongly entrenched will be the belief about good, making it difficult for good to appear.
Yeah. And the thing that's one of those statements that's maybe so, maybe not, because of course you don't govern what good is. You just govern your perception of it.
Right. Right.
But
But one of the things that came up for me in this is that I have, as I'm going through, my day or whatever, things start to happen and I'm thinking, oh, that's not good. Ooh, that's not good. Okay. And I'm just going through my day, right? And pretty soon I'm like, you know, I'm getting
demoralized. You've convinced
I'm getting
yourself that
impacted
what good is.
by little good or little not good. And then I have a picture about what if it was really toeing the mark, what it would look like, by golly. And it's that very notion that I know what good should look like that makes it difficult for good to appear given my point of view.
Yeah, well, given a vision of what you have, everything else is left out.
Right.
So only that is good. And of course, that's never going to be true.
Right.
So if good is what's going on, and my opinion says, then I get to look at my opinion, not start defending my opinion.
Right.
I just want to look at it. Only good is, I
Right.
don't think that looks good to me, but it is good because that's the rule.
Right. That is really good because I was just thinking about the paradox, right?
Yep.
And you've got zero and you've got good and you've got bad, and that's all inside the language picture. And this whole thing is good, capital G.
Showing up in the language we can understand.
Exactly. So if we think we know what good is, we put our blinders on to anything outside of that. It's going to be invisible to our perception, our point of view.
Yeah, it's almost a discipline to learn that when you look around, you got to remind yourself, oh, this is what good looks like right now. Okay.
Right.
And then right now, oh, okay. And then right now, and oh, more. Okay. Right. Instead, we say, well, yeah, it was good 5 minutes ago, but now.
Right.
Things
if you only knew what just happened.
Yeah. And then by my saying, guess what? My experience is that there isn't anything good around.
Right.
And so then I begin to let my view and my opinion run the show instead of the fact, the spiritual fact that only good is.
Yeah.
Everything else is a point of view.
Correct.
Reality is always good presencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. So when understanding takes the place of traditions, conventions, and theories, and human life is evaluated spiritually, you will have no interest in what is good, but only in the fact that all conscious experience is the infinity of good.
Yep.
When you're forced to think originally and to spiritually rationalize, something wonderful is happening to you.
Yep.
And that's all from What is the Idea, pages 84 and 85
Mm-hmm.
by Margaret Laird.
Yep.
Right?
So it's by my being, all being is.
That's right.
And it's all good, capital G, for me, unless I say otherwise. And if I say otherwise, guess what my experience is?
Otherwise.
Yes, I'm missing the whole thing.
Right. But here's the cool part about the whole deal is that we call it. It's like the story about the umpires. Right? It's like you get a beginner novice umpire. Yeah, you get a novice umpire, and you say, well, how do you know if it's a ball or a strike? Well, I call it the way it is. And you get the more experienced umpire. You say, well, how do you know? And he says, well, I call it like I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the really experienced umpire, the master umpire. And the master umpire says, it ain't nothing till I call it.
There you go. And in your life, in each one of us, we are the umpire, the master umpire. Right. And it's as we say. And it isn't that the picture will look different, but our experience of living will allow whatever's going on to show up and disappear and show up and disappear until we get hooked on it. And then we have it stay there. And guess what? Yeah. That's no good in the experience of human living.
Right.
And I'm the one that's got the stumbling block by my view hinged on my opinion of what's going on.
Right.
Instead of acknowledging the spiritual fact, all is good.
Right.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very good. All right. So welcome everybody. What I want to say is if you have any questions, anything at all, just enter that into the comments box. And if you're enjoying the conversation, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, anything like that. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do that because it helps us spread the word. All the likes, all the thumbs up, all the comments, they help us get the word out and spread the word. So that would be fabulous. So on we go. But if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just enter them in. We'll bring them into the conversation as long as we're still live. All right.
Let me say one thing about that. Remember, if you have a question, there are lots of people in the audience that have that same question. So do us a favor by going ahead and asking it. So it'll get handled for the whole group.
Exactly. All right. So here we go. So in What is the Idea, the pamphlet by Margaret Laird, that is available at the, I got to learn how to point because it's different. Okay. That's available up at the scientificmetaphysics.org website if you'd like to get a copy of it. But on page 86, Margaret Laird writes, the insistence and persistence of the individual God sense for recognition is the reason for reading or writing.
Yep. Exactly. So what is the reason for action, reading and writing and whatever? What did you say?
That recognizing God's sense.
It's the recognition of individual God sense. Mm-hmm. An individual God sense is the presence that you are. Man is the expression of God's being. Mm-hmm. Right on. Okay.
All right. And then she also said on page 86, the understanding of this fact is the enlightenment that makes the living of life a glorious adventure.
Yep.
So it is what we make it for sure.
Yep.
And in Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy on page 174, starting on line 20, said it this way: truth is revealed. It needs only to be practiced.
Yeah, and then the note that she wrote about that points out what you can do when something comes up that says, I'm sick, I don't feel good. Oh, it all went wrong. And what's the note?
We should prevent the image of disease from taking form in thought,
Yep.
and efface the outlines of disease already formulated. What is efface? Get rid of? Let go of? What?
One of the things that I wanted to point out about that is that it's an impossibility. We cannot prevent the image of disease from taking form in thought.
Right.
What we can do is be the thought that only good is.
Right. And I was thinking that, like, you can't, like, I can't think about that or whatever, because that's just resistance. Resistance causes persistence.
Yep,
And you've
exactly.
labeled something as not I.
Yep.
So we should prevent the image of disease from taking form in thought. It will, but the thing for me is, okay, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
So that's the dress God's wearing today, or that's the hat.
good. Exactly.
Right? Put it in the corner with the hat.
Yeah, let it go sit in the corner if that's the way it wants to look. I don't know why it looks that way, but the hell with it, says
Right.
Margaret Laird.
Exactly. So rather than trying to get it out of your brain, out of your mind, all that, just allow it to be. Don't fuss with it at all. Walk right on.
Yeah, the thing is, when somebody says, what's that green light out in the front yard? You open the door and look, and it doesn't look green to you. And you say, nothing. But if you open the door and it all looks green, you rush out to do something about the green light. Well, in science, we know that only good is, which is what we just talked about when we started here. And if only good is, there's nothing to rush out the door and take care of.
Right.
So I want to be the walking presence of that fact. I don't want to attack my belief that there's something wrong. I want to leave that alone. And when I leave it alone, it sits in the corner and does nothing.
Right.
And that's just fine.
Right.
If I try to fix it,
Yep.
it's mixed into the soup and there I am.
Right. We've got a question. If detachment to the language is necessary, how does compassion fit in?
Detachment isn't what we do with language. We acknowledge the fact that has the language occur. So there's no denying language. You don't detach yourself from language. You are making the language you're walking through, and you can't detach yourself from yourself. I'm the guilty party in my language world. It's all about me because I'm it. So there isn't any detachment involved. There is a fact to be acknowledged. And there is a belief to just put it in the corner and let it sit there.
Right.
It has no power to do anything unless I say so.
Right. So then what do you say about compassion?
Compassion, define what you mean by compassion. Because I've heard that discussed before too, and people do not have the same view. What do you mean by compassion? Do you mean sympathy? What are you meaning?
Okay, so there you go. So we'll see what Love Wisdom comes back with, and we will move on to Sandy Jackson, who says, when the point of view changes from personal sense to soul sense, good is seen to be all that is. PNP, what's PNP stand for?
Practice, not profession.
Okay, right. Practice, not profession. Laird, page 14, lines 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Sandy, that's very good.
Yep. Compassion is empathy for others.
Oh, okay. There isn't any such thing as compassion in the world of mind. There are no others.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Eddy says, I am all. So where's my empathy? I am all, and the knowledge of aught beside myself is impossible. I am the world I walk through. There's no compassion in that needed, wanted, or effective. Compassion as empathy requires others. And there's just one thing going on. All is infinite mind, infinitely manifest. And this is what it looks like. So I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to allow it to be and walk on with the facts as I know them.
And you'll be however you be with your world. Right?
You know, when I'm living consciously aware that good is the presence seen, heard, and felt.
Uh-huh.
That's universally true. With living that fact, there's no need for empathy. Empathy is the admission that there's more than one thing going on and that somehow you can mitigate it by thinking about it.
Right.
Okay?
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And then and thank you for all those comments. Keep them coming. Love it. All right. And in your book, Mind is the Athlete, on page 188, you said it this way: facts live in the acknowledgement of those facts. And this is our body.
Yep.
Okay. Just say that some other way for me.
Well, facts live in acknowledgement.
Right.
That's a fact right there. And the acknowledgement of those facts constitutes who we are.
Okay.
And what's going on in the world we walk through.
Got it.
And it looks like our language world in the human living appearance.
Yeah.
But what it is my present, very best view of the spiritual reality that constitutes my being.
Right. Now, all of what you just said is way more understandable than that quote. Just saying.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. There's a note that goes with it.
That's right. All right. And then
there's a note that goes with it.
Yeah, we go on. Said the only man there is the man you're being as conscious identity. And that's
Right.
also on page 188 of your book.
Yep.
All right. So moving on. What is the idea? On page 86, Margaret Laird wrote, the important thing is to give up images or interpretations of life to be the living of life itself as thinking.
Yep. See, thoughts are things.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever want to do anything with concordances and looking up references to really give you some background on that, you will be fascinated with all the things that Mrs. Eddy has had to say about thought. Thoughts are things. So the thinking that you think is going on for your experience is actually divine being. Looking like Betty saying, or Kim saying, or you saying. But the capacity to think and the activity of thinking is a God action constituting man. There's no two-legged animal that can think.
Right.
Contrary to the belief, humanly speaking, human beings do not think. They just think they think.
Right. Excellent. Clear as mud.
Well, all thinking is a God action.
Right.
It isn't a human being struggling to figure something out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I'm really trued up to that, everything seems to flow and open up and all of that. Till I put the brakes on it somehow by believing something that ain't true. Anyways, just saying. All right. Saying for a friend. No, kidding. All right. In Science and Health on page 367, line 18.
Where are you?
Science and Health, 367.
Oh, okay.
Science and Health, page 367, line 18, where Mary Baker Eddy said, "Ye are the salt of the earth. Ye are the light of the world."
Yeah. Now, who's she talking about?
Ye.
Yeah, who? One being. That's right. The presence that you are, the reality, calling itself Betty or Kim or Sally or whatever, that being is the salt of the earth. And what does salt mean?
You sparkle.
Yeah, it's the thing that gives it distinction, gives it flavor, gives it oomph, makes it interesting,
Yeah.
makes it fun, makes it memorable.
Right.
And then ye are the light of the world. Light is understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And your world is the light that you are. It expresses the understanding in the language that you are comfortable with.
Right.
So you want to realize that. You want to see that that isn't something you figure out eventually with a lot of sweat and hard work and struggle.
Right.
It actually constitutes what you call yourself.
Yeah.
It's an action of the God idea, which constitutes man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And let us watch, work, and pray that this salt lose not its saltness, and that this light be not hid.
Yep. And it isn't hid when you live it consciously.
Right. And you don't lose your saltness neither.
That's right.
Salt is salt.
It's the moment when it's sort of like a bell goes off and you realize that your experience, whatever that may look like in your daily living, but that experience is your teacher.
Yeah.
That's when understanding comes to roost.
Yep. Yeah.
Experience is the teacher. Yep.
Yeah. All right. And in your book on page 188, Mind is the Athlete, you wrote, "Your health, happiness, and wealth exist divinely, have always existed, and always will exist.
Yep. And go ahead with a note. It fits right in.
They will seem to exist in language in the ratio of your ability to be yourself, undisturbed by the belief that something is going on outside the consciousness being you."
Yep.
Yeah.
Any question?
Any questions? Any questions? Go ahead and type those in. I like that. I like that whole statement. Let's just repeat it. Your health, happiness, and wealth exist divinely, have always existed, and always will exist. They will seem to exist in language in the ratio of your ability to be yourself, undisturbed by the belief that something is going on outside the consciousness being you.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is nothing going on outside the consciousness being you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So when it says they will seem to exist, she's talking about health, happiness, and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
They will seem to exist in your language experience in the ratio of your ability to be yourself.
Yeah.
And when am I being myself? When I'm consciously aware, when I'm being the awareness that only good is.
And undisturbed by the belief that something's going on out there.
Like there's something out there.
Right. But the key there is undisturbed by that belief.
Yeah. Oh, that's the way it looks. That's the stuff that sits over on the bench in the corner.
That's right. In the stool in the corner with the hat. If you want to know why we're laughing about that, you got to go a couple episodes back to get the whole context for us saying the thing in the corner with the hat. All right. Just so you know. Just a teaser to go check out some other videos. All right. So on What is the Idea on page 86, Margaret Laird wrote, "How you read and how you pray is the power."
Yeah, and go ahead with the note on that.
Reading with intelligence, with the eyes of soul understanding. One reads with discrimination, discarding words and phrases as obsolete that imply a division of being into I and not I.
Yep.
Yeah. Very good.
And you know, you don't know, I guess not many people in the group have met Margaret Laird, but if you ever look at one of her Science and Health, and she has a ton of them, she crosses out everything that doesn't say there's just one thing going on. Discussion, all kinds of stuff that Mrs. Eddy wrote, making it available to people in her day.
Right.
Margaret says, we don't need those today. She crossed them out.
Right.
They might have been fine for Mrs. Eddy's world, but we're 100 years later and they don't work anymore. So we have to be our own writing.
Right. Right.
You
And Sandy Jackson wrote, if attention is drawn to apparent otherness, hold to the facts of being, knowing all is one.
Yeah, acknowledging that all is one. Yeah. Wonderful, Sandy. Thank you.
All right. Okay. And then in Science and Health on page 522, starting on line 10, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, existence separate from divinity, science explains, is impossible.
Yep.
And in proportion as matter loses to human sense all entity is man, in that proportion does man become its master.
Yeah, and you can look at that a little bit more slowly. There's a lot being said there.
Right.
So you want to, she's talking, when they talk about matter in this particular sentence, they're talking about the language world that you're appearing to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you can look at that and have it lose all entity as constituting your experience, it's a point of view of a reality present. This is the best view you've got.
Right.
But it's only a view. It's not a thing. It's not any reality to it. It's strictly your comfort language.
Right.
And so you leave it alone. You don't fuss with it. Because when you fuss with it, you make a roadblock for yourself. You want to leave it alone, let it go sit over there in the corner on the bench, and you go right on being yourself and allow it to be.
Right.
And if it has a blessing involved, the blessing is present. If it doesn't, the whole thing disappears.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, got it. All right, and then you say, in Mind is the Athlete on page 189, metaphysical science teaches that there is no authority outside of one's own divine being.
Yep. And
that's a good one. I had a mentor in my life that was amazing. And she said one time, she said, Kim, you're in charge no matter who you're with.
Yep.
And that reminds me of that. There is no authority outside of one's own divine being.
Yep.
Please forgive that typo that I just saw, in case you see it. And there is no objective reality. That may be the way it looks. There is no objective reality.
Yeah.
That may be the way it looks. It is not the way it is. Consciousness is all there is.
Yeah, and when we say there's no objective reality, the key word is objective. Mm-hmm. Reality is subjective. It's like life, truth, love, spirit, principle, mind, soul, nothing that can be seen, heard, felt, touched, smelled, etc. Reality is not a 3D, three-dimensional objective presence. Mm-hmm. That is a point of view that has no reality except what you give it.
Right.
And you don't give it reality when you allow it to be. You give it reality when you fight with it, resist it, try to fix it up, maneuver it around, rearrange it, repair it, heal it, all of that. If you just drop all of that concern for the look and just say, I don't know why it looks that way, the hell with it, you're on the track right away to seeing what's actually present.
Right. Yep. All right. And if there's any other questions, comments, would love any likes and hearts or anything like that, if this has mattered to you and made a difference. And until we will not be having another live episode next week. We will be off the week of Thanksgiving due to travel, and then we'll be back the following week. So just to make that clear, we won't be here next week. We'll be here 2 weeks from now. So at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central. All right. So until then, pay attention. See what shows up in your own experience.
Remember that what's showing up is your best view of good, the only thing that's actually present.
Right. Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, y'all. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Otherwise, go back if you want to know about the chair in the corner with the hat and all that, then go back a couple episodes, listen to that episode. You'll find it, promise. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. And then we have one more statement. Oops. That is, well, I'll just do it right over the top. Betty, you're an awesome teacher. I concur 100%. Thank you so much. All right. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you in 2 weeks. All right. Take care.